So for this project, I found two pieces of wood at a garage sale. I think I picked them up for $3 each, and I brought them home and I painted them both on both sides. One of them I used for a previous project. It was the snowman with resin, which is a video I already have out. And this one I'm going to paint a Santa Claus on. I found this Santa on YouTube. I absolutely love it, and I thought the way that it was painted would fit perfectly on this board. There's a lady who has a YouTube channel. Her name is Tracy Kierman, Kierman, and I want to give her credit. She does a tutorial on how to paint this Santa. Now, I basically just used it for the template, so I printed it out. This is actually on 4 pieces of paper. I cut it out, I taped it together, and I put it on the board, and then I traced the board out with chalk, and I used just regular kids chalk and traced it out, and then took it off and started painting. I painted the hat red, and then I painted the rest of him white. This isn't how she did it on the tutorial, but this is the way I did it. It was easier for me to do it this way. You guys would have to decide how you wanted to do it yourself. Next, I traced out where I thought the face would go with pencil, and then I just started painting it in with skin tone. Then I do a bunch of touch-up work, and I paint some rosy cheeks and a rosy nose on Santa. And I find some eyes I make out of some stones that I have. The stones you can pick up at Dollar Tree, Michael's, most any craft store that you could think of. And I put a white dot in the middle of his eye that kind of brings him to life. And I painted some eyebrows, which I eventually end up taking off and bringing his hat down a little bit further. Next, in preparation to paint the mustache and the beard, I use golden molding paste that I picked up from Michael's. And this is just a thickener to thicken up your acrylic paint. So I use a bunch of this, and I put some white acrylic paint with it, and I mix it up, and then I add some more of the modeling. I think it's called molding paste. It's called molding paste. And like I said, all it does is it thickens up your acrylic paint. I also put some iridescent medium in it also because I wanted the beard to be a little bit shiny, but I don't really know if it did that much because I didn't really add that much compared to the amount of paint and molding paste that I put in. Anyway, a lot of people do this with a palette knife, but I went ahead and just used a regular paintbrush to paint all this on, and I just continue to put it on over and over and over again until I get the texture that I want. I want the beard looking like the hair's going one way and the mustache looking like it's going the other way. It gives it some dimension. I'll let you watch. It just adds some texture to the hair and makes it look more like hair instead of just being painted flat white. And I also put a little bit of black paint to make some gray highlights so that you can distinguish between from the mustache to the beard. And then when I got down to the beard, I started building that up and kind of making little curls at the bottom of the beard. He also has a little bit of hair between the mustache and the brim of his stocking cap, and I kind of build the texture up in there a little bit so you can kind of see the difference. And then last, I repaint his eyebrows on. And I'm not doing a lot with the paint around the brim of his stocking cap because I'm going to be covering that with the tube confetti. Next, I flip the board over and I'm starting to put tape on it so that resin doesn't get on the other side. And I started putting it down at the spot that I'm going to be taking it off last. And resin, a lot of times when it drips off, will drip around onto the bottom and leave all those little drips, if you've ever worked with resin before. So anyway, this is how I do it. I put it on the spot that I'm going to take off last, and then I start layering it. And then I put it all along the edges on both sides, and then I flip it over and I put another piece that's just a little bit higher than the edge to create a type of reservoir for the resin to sit in so that it doesn't spill over the edge. And then after about 2 hours, after I've put the resin on, I take that tape off, and a little bit might come down the side, but the rest of the tape is still there, so it's protecting the side. But it's pretty much gelled up after 2 hours. It's not set, but it's gelled. Next, I take a vase and I smash it up. I do a lot of tumbled glass, but for tumbled glass, I have to have glass that has the color all the way through it. This particular vase is just actually painted on. It has like an iridescent red, and I thought it would be real pretty to put on the Santa's hat. Normally I do this outside in a wooden box, and I cover it with a huge towel, and I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes because, as you see, there was actually a piece I can see sitting there right on the floor that flew out of there using that tiny towel like that. It's really not a good idea. So I pick up vases and other glass pieces at garage sales and Goodwill. They have an abundance of them. The best place to really get glass is from garage sales, I find, the least expensive. So I end up taking it outside to further smash it up. And then I take all the little pieces of glass, pretty red glass, and I put it all over the Santa hat. I was thinking if somebody didn't want to use glass, but they kind of wanted the same look, you could actually paint the red hat with Mod Podge and then put some sprinkles on it, some kind of glitter on it, red glitter. And then you could also put Mod Podge on the puffball of the hat and around the brim, and use some more kind of glitter or the tube confetti that I use. And gosh, he would turn out just as cute. You know, some people don't want to mess around with glass, and some people don't want to mess around with resin. So that's a suggestion for you. So then it's ready for resin. I actually took this into the back room and put it on the floor because it's so heavy. I usually resin in one room and then carry the object into the back room where it sits on a flat level surface and in a room that nobody ever goes into, so that there's no fumes in the house or no cats walking around by it or anything. Anyway, so now it's on a flat level surface. I use gloves. I use a respirator. I did get a new resin called Clearcast 7000. It boasts no VOCs, which are supposed to be dangerous fumes, but I still wear a respirator with it. This is a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part resin to 1 part hardener. You're supposed to put the hardener in first and then pour the resin into the hardener. Once you get them both into the same container, you'll notice that it's fairly clear. Then you're supposed to mix it for up to 3 minutes. You have to scrape the sides and scrape the bottoms as you're mixing and be real thorough with it. Very slowly. The slower you mix it, the less bubbles you'll have. Once you start mixing it, you'll notice it starts to turn cloudy. And after the 3 minutes are up, or when it's totally mixed, you'll notice that it turns clear again, and then you're ready to pour the resin. I pour it over the hat first, and I usually use a spoon, and I make sure I cover all of the glass so that it stays down, and then I go around the perimeter with the resin. I know this says it's a self-leveling resin, but you really have to push it into the corners and into the, along the edges, and make sure everything's covered, and use a spoon to smooth it out. Then I use my heat gun to get the bubbles out. There's a low and a high setting. I always put it to the low setting. And then on the back is the temperature setting, and I usually put it around 500 degrees. And it can take up to 5 minutes to get the bubbles out. I find a couple kitty cat hairs in the resin, so I use the spoon to get them out before I finish up with the heat gun. So then I use something called tube confetti that I picked up at a place called the Dollar Depot. They also have it up at the Dollar Tree in multiple colors. It comes out around Christmas time, so if you want some, you should go get it now. So I use this tube confetti to put around the brim of the hat and also for the pom-pom on the hat. And it's easier to disperse if I put it in a piece of paper and distribute it that way, because if you put it in your hand, it kind of has this static cling and it sticks and it goes to places that you really don't want it to go. So I slowly put it on the pom-pom and then on the brim of the hat. And if they end up somewhere that you don't want them, you can just push them back into place with the spoon. Next, I realized I never painted any snowflakes on the wood there, so I had these sparkly snowflakes that I had picked up at a garage sale for like 50 cents. They are so cute, and I put those all over around Santa's hat and I thought that really did the trick. Next, I let them dry at temperatures between 72 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit overnight on a level, flat surface. So now I'm ready to take the tape off. And so this comes off first. Oh, I hope I don't have a problem with it. I'm putting this in fast forward. This took a long time to get all this tape off. Wow, I just took all the tape off, and boy was that a pain. It took me probably 10 minutes. And I had waited like a week after it was done, after I had finished it, because I was gonna take it off for the video, so the tape sat on there for a week, and it was really hard to get off. So if you guys do this, take it off the next day, because painter's tape isn't usually hard to get off at all. But anyway, didn't he turn out cute? I think he's adorable. Can you see him okay? Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I sure had fun making it. See you next time.